So as I told you guys from early on, the first thing that they're going to cave on is the symbolism, because nothing hinges on the symbolism. So now, the snowball turned into an avalanche. Here we are again. Pop Crave says the following: Hulu has removed an episode of The Golden Girls in which characters wear mud face masks. The episode was removed due to concerns over racism. Now, if you're keeping track of all this stuff, they got rid of Aunt Jemima. Then they got rid of Uncle Ben. Then they got rid of The Sound of Music for racial concerns. But apparently they brought it back, but there's now, before you watch it, there's a little thing of a professor explaining, the racial situation at the time, and it's kind of like the equivalent of like a trigger warning, I guess, where they're trying to explain like, these were primitive attitudes expressed on race, so on and so forth. The other thing is there's been now many prominent examples of voices of cartoon characters who are stepping down and saying, hey, my race doesn't match the race of the cartoon character. So the voice of Cleveland, for example, from Family Guy and then The Cleveland Show, the guy who's the voice of Cleveland is a white guy, and he said, listen, I'm going to step down and you should give this role to a black person. And then there were other examples of that as well, where in various cartoons, white voice actors are stepping down and saying, hey, replace me with a minority to represent the minority character. And now, Golden Girls, again, they're wearing mud face masks, and the episode was removed because they're saying, like, oh, it could be interpreted as blackface, so let's pull it down. So this is what they're giving instead of substantive concessions on policy. See, nobody was asking to pull down an episode of The Golden Girls. Nobody's asking for that. And by the way, you're going to see a lot more of this. It's going to be nonstop. Anything that's even slightly questionable, they're going to err on the side of, we'll just get rid of it, because they think that this will appease protest movements. But what people are asking for is, hey, they say defund the police. When you get into the specifics, it varies from person to person what they mean when they say that. But like, lower the police budgets, put that money into education, put that money into the social safety net, into jobs programs, so on and so forth. People want to end the drug war. People want to get rid of mandatory minimum sentences because that's, applied in a racially disproportionate way, where a white person and a black person commit the same crime, black person gets way more time for it. And the list goes on and on. Of the substantive things that we're trying to change. Special prosecutors, when there's police brutality, have a police the police law, where if one officer commits a crime, all the other police around that officer are guilty of the exact same crime, and that in theory should make them police each other and say, hey, don't do that, I don't want to go to jail, you better not kill that person, get your neck off their, like what happened with George Floyd. People are asking for real change when it comes to that, and of course there's movements now, people want real change when it comes to the economy, Medicare for all, free college, unions, higher wages. This is what people want. But see, again, they're going to, instead of giving you those real concessions and really changing the system, they're just going to go all in on this kind of meaningless virtue signaling. And it's not going to stop. This is what's going to go front and center. This is going to become, and by the way, it also makes the protesters and the Black Lives Matter people look bad, because this is frivolous. So people are going to go, oh, look at these frivolous protesters and look at what they're getting as a result of their protesting. But none of the protesters asked for this. This is the woke corporations. Basically, the move is, hey, us corporations will give as much ground as you want on identity stuff. We'll say, you want us to take a knee, we'll take a knee. You want us to say Black Lives Matter, we'll say Black Lives Matter. You want us to get rid of anything that's questionable or problematic, we'll do that. You want us to have white CEOs express their white guilt 1,000 times a day, we'll do that too. But just don't you dare look at the fact that we have Vietnamese child labor making our goods, or Cambodian child labor making our goods, and that we outsource jobs that were formerly good-paying U.S. jobs. Everything is a distraction. Everything is a symbolic gesture and giveaway, which nothing hinges on, and it serves no purpose except pissing off reactionaries. That's all this does. And it makes these protest movements look more frivolous than they actually are. So, of course, we should have known. This is why I was saying it from early on. They'll always cave on the symbolism first because nothing hinges on it. Nothing changes. Nothing changes when you do this. So, of course, they're going to give up on this first. They're going to put this front and center. So, it's going to keep happening, and it's probably going to get progressively more and more silly. And nobody wins with this. Nobody wins with this. Nobody was asking for that to be pulled down. Reality is stranger than fiction and funnier than fiction. Because, you couldn't write this. This is, too silly to even write. The idea that you have this deeply flawed society where people are getting screwed when it comes to the economy, people are getting screwed with racial injustices sort of built into the system. And this is the way that our failed state and the failed system is responding. Silly symbolic gestures like pulling problematic episodes because of freaking face masks.